Hi, I'm Ian Carpenter from LiveONE.TV here in New York. Our special guest today is New York City Mayoral Candidate, Javon Terell Ross. Thank you so much for coming in today, Javon.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And to the audience out there, I wanted to say thank you as well. And I hope that what we talk about today addresses many of the things and concerns that you guys have, and that you find the answers that you're looking for with this.
Let's get going. Tell us about what your platform is going to be, or your platform is for New York City.
Sure. My general platform comes from my own personal values, and there's 3 R's in that. That's respect in love, reform in love, and restore in love. So when we approach things, no matter what it is, issues and problems, whatever comes to mind, there's a situation between people, or there's a situation that's developing in some sort of industrial arena. If we approach it with respect, saying, hey, look, I don't know about the situation. Even if I don't agree with it, I'm going to hear it out, hear the whole matter, understand it to the best of my ability, so that I can say, okay, maybe this is what we need to do. But the first thing we're going to do is hear the matter out, and then we're going to say, all right, well, with that, is there something that I can do? Is there something that you can do? What do we need to do to address this situation in fairness, right? Yeah. So another thing from that is, speaking on fairness, something I learned in the Marine Corps. Yeah, is 3 F's, and that's firm, fair, and fun. All right. So we want to make sure that we're always fair. We're firm when we need to be, and we do our best to have fun. And so that approach allows us to address any matter, no matter what it is, while we maintain the seriousness of what we're addressing. Don't take ourselves serious, but take what we have to do serious. And that's what my Uncle Nolan taught me when I was like 14 or 16 years old.
All right. So that seems to be missing in New York City politics right now.
I would agree.
Yeah. And would you agree there's a lot of dishonesty going on with our elected officials at many levels in the government?
There's a lot of dishonesty just in general. Yes, indeed. And
right.
It's particular to the government. It is happening way too much. And that's a part of life. And it's for us to recognize as the people and say, okay, we now see this happening. What are we going to do about it? What do you want to do about it? You see, I'm here to listen, to learn, and to be that voice, and more than just a voice, that action, that activity person, the man of action that says, hey, we've heard the people. We understand the situation, the dynamic, what's really going on here. And it needs to change. It needs to be addressed with fairness. And so when we take that accountability approach and say, hey, look, it doesn't matter if I agree with you. It doesn't matter what's going on. I want to make sure that I'm heard and that my issues are being appropriately addressed. So if that's what I would like as a person, what does it take? It takes me doing the same thing for the others, right? Treating others as we want to be treated. So we take that approach and we can't lose.
What is it about New York's politics, especially as the mayor is involved? What is it that you would do in that position? Do differently or reform? Or what is it that you think needs to be done differently than what we're doing right now?
What needs to be done is we need to be honest. We need to be open. We need a system that allows full transparency with activities that we're doing. So, for instance, let's say that there are meetings going on and that are usually behind closed doors. They don't necessarily need to be behind closed doors, right? I'm willing to be that mayor that says, hey, follow me around all day long. If it's not something personal that I'm doing as a person, then if it's not classified for a mission that needs to take place, then it needs to be made aware to all, the entire public, so that you can keep track. You say, hey, look, man, he did this today. He did that today. You won't have an issue. You won't have a question about my governance or my mayorship while I'm in that position if you have the opportunity to see daily what I'm doing.
Okay.
Right? So we have cameras and 24-hour camera systems and all that kind of stuff. Have a day in the life of this person, a day in the life of that person.
Right.
We need to do that for our government.
I like that. And if I could ask that, and first, let's get it straight. Will it be Mayor Ross or Mayor Terell Ross?
Mayor Ross.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So it sounds to me, as mayor, that you would be open, except for in classified or strategy sessions or things involving security,
Yes.
you would be open to having a transparent, even video transparent, like a body-worn camera, while you're doing official business.
100% yes.
Okay.
100% yes.
So that is a campaign promise.
Yes.
Right. And to further define that, the police have a small discrete camera, and it could be something similar to that. And you'd, take it off or remove it in classified or strategy sessions?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, I have one in my jacket.
Oh.
I keep it with me all the time.
Right.
So I always have a camera ready to go.
I think that's very appealing to people. And then if it's even live streamed, that they could actually go to a website and actually see what the mayor is doing during work hours.
Yes.
At every single working hour.
Indeed. They can just dial in and just watch.
Right.
And just have it going on.
That would be great.
Another thing to that point, I don't know if we're going to talk about that, but there's a lot going on right now. We're talking about police brutality and things happening inside the jails and outside. One thing that we haven't considered doing is the same thing inside of the jail system. We have all these issues happening where people are saying this happened to me or that happened, and it may or may not have happened.
Yeah.
Right? But if we have a 24-hour surveillance system that allows the public to type in maybe their particular person that they want to check on inside of prison, right? They can dial in and, without giving up any type of security issues, the cameras can be faced in a way where you don't know anything else about what's going on security-wise.
Yeah.
But you're able to say, hey, look, I can check on that person. And I see that they're okay today. I see that this is happening.
Right.
You see how the interactions are with the police and the correctional officers and whatnot. So all that is there.
Right.
I know that there's going to be pushback and they're going to say, oh, no, security this, security that. You can't tell me that.
Yeah.
I'm a former Marine. I'm a former federal law enforcement officer. And I've been behind the scenes with the government as well as a contractor.
Right.
So I understand the dynamic inside of those cells, outside of the cells, in any type of environment is something that I've been exposed to, understand intimately. So there's a way that we can do it. It's just a matter of ironing things out and saying, hey, look, this is what we need to do. The thing is, the pushback is going to come because people want to keep secrets. People want to make sure that they are not found out.
Yeah.
The things that are happening that shouldn't be happening, it's too easy to really address those things. Do we want to address those things? Do the people want to say, hey, look, I'm willing to do what's necessary to ensure that the government becomes accountable and holds themselves accountable to us? We are the people. You're not supposed to be holding us accountable. We're supposed to hold you accountable for the entirety of us all. And so when we do that, when we have a system in place that holds everybody accountable, starting with the people that we say are supposed to take care of us, how do I know if you're taking care of me if I'm not able to keep tabs on what you're doing? I don't need to micromanage you. I just need to understand the clear picture of what is happening. And we need to give that to the people.
Right. And did you have a chance to see, I found out from a social media influencer named Sean Reyes. He has a YouTube account called The Long Island Audit, I believe. And he did a story recently that we had a jail or a prison, and recently the video footage came out of the prison guards beating a handcuffed inmate.
Robert Brooks.
Okay. And this seemed like something from another era of racism and police brutality. You would think that we're long past that, but this is recent, and it is like I just said, it was Robert Brooks, and he was killed in this. They beat him.
They beat him to death.
And he was handcuffed.
He was handcuffed inside of the correctional facility office. And the video's out there. I don't know if it's a very intense video to watch.
Right.
But it's out there. And yes, it happened. Handcuffed several police officers, correctional officers, or people that were in that system. I don't know. I can't speak and say, yes, they are correctional officers, right? Because who's to say that these systems that we say we are keeping people incarcerated in, who's to say that we're not carrying out hits on them, right?
Yeah.
So there's something that we need to really think about, and that is people that go into the system. Periodically, you hear about someone being beat to death, someone being attacked, someone being this or that happen, right? Once they get in, there are hits on people. We know this happens.
I hear you.
There's hits out here, right? And so when someone gets in, they're like, all right, this person needs to be handled. And they're going to get transferred, or they're going to get this, or that's going to happen. And
wow.
Nothing happens, and nobody is held accountable, right? Why? Why aren't people being held accountable for things that we know are egregious?
Yeah.
And that go against mankind and humanity just in that sense, right?
Right.
Because they're not the ones calling the shots. They're the ones carrying out the shot.
Right.
And that's what we need to look at and really go behind the scenes and investigating and saying, hey, look, yeah, we understand those are the people you're using, but where does this go to? Who's the head?
Right. Yeah.
That's what we need to focus on.
You just made me grow a foot. And this, of course, goes back to the huge case with Jeffrey Epstein. You know, that he was down in a prison and ended up being killed in that prison before we had a chance to extract as much information as we could from him personally.
Right.
And the security cameras in that case supposedly were not working in what should have been one of the most secure jail cell environments in the world. And I think that one is even right down near Police Plaza. I'm not quite sure. I think it's maybe even within a DOJ building or next door to it. And Jeffrey Epstein, people have no confidence that we know what really happened there. And I think in the case that we were just talking about, it's under investigation, but the people who did the beating still are not arrested. Okay, they may have been removed from their job, but they haven't been arrested yet. You would think the video alone is enough for arrests to be made.
Right.
But I've been, at least from Sean Ray's report here, that it's under investigation. Makes you wonder who's investigating. So you're suggesting sometimes when people end up in these systems that they may have actually been brought into the zone where they're ultimately killed or made. Yeah, that's very interesting. I think I've just grown a foot.
We never know who's really has something against someone.
Right. They could say, hey, now we got him exactly where we want him. Right.
$10.
And we're just a few minutes away from Rikers Island, which is the largest penal colony in the world. And there have been people are getting killed who are incarcerated over there. So prison reform is a big deal. Are there other areas of prison reform that you'd be addressing and looking at?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Not only with how we're treating people inside, and that goes with both, like how the officers are treating the inmates and how the inmates are treating the officers. That's a relationship that has to be established. When you're inside of an environment like this, you have to have a working relationship, right? In order to have things run smoothly. Because the bottom line is everybody inside of a facility like that is locked up. The officers are locked up, as well as the inmates.
Yeah.
They just have different duties, and some get to go home afterwards.
Right.
Right? So there's a dynamic that is taking place psychologically and emotionally that takes place within people and on people that we have to consider. Right? And so with that, how do we take care of the health of everyone within the facilities? Right? If the officers feel healthy, they're happy, they want to go to work, they enjoy what they're doing, not because they're there to take advantage of someone, but because they're actually there because they believe that reform is a trueness and that it can happen and that this is one way for it to happen. So we need to look at the health of not only the officers, but the inmates especially as well. So when we go in there, we establish this new health benefit for everyone. How do you feel today? Do you want to go to work? because we don't want people going to work that don't want to go to work. Not only in the penal system, but just in general.
Yeah.
We have people that we interact with daily, Starbucks, or I don't want to give Starbucks a shout out. So a coffee shop or whatnot,
Sure.
a shop here and there. You go and you interact with someone, and it's like, I'm not having a good day, so I'm going to treat you however I want to treat you, and then you, as a person, are either going to react or respond to that.
Yeah.
Right? There's two things that we need to consider here: react and respond. Right? We react to things when we don't think about it.
Yeah.
We respond when we think about it. What do we have? What is 911 called? First reactors? No, they're called first responders, right? What is a nuclear plant called? What happens there? A reaction, a nuclear reaction.
Right.
You can't control what happens once that happens, right? It is what it is.
Yeah.
But if you're able to look at a situation, you say, hey, look, all these different things happen. Let me think about this. Let me see what's going on here. Let me hear the whole story before I decide on what I'm going to do. Then I'm able to say, hey, I can respond to that, as opposed to that knee-jerk reaction of reacting.
Yeah.
And then everybody's out of sync that way. That's one way.
All right. I guess I'll address you as Candidate Ross from now on. Candidate Ross, we're in a district where we have Tiffany Caban right here in Astoria. She's our council member. We also have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's our congresswoman in this particular area right here where LiveONE TV is. We also have New York State Assemblyman Zoran Mamdani. So we have people who've all gone on the record as having what are being called socialist policies and ideas that the police should be defunded and that money put into social programs. Where do you stand on the but on the topic of police either being funded with more budget money or that money being diverted into social programs? Or maybe another solution entirely. Maybe, there's other things that people could explore.
Absolutely. That's another great question. All these are great questions. So in terms of police financing, right? Before we go in there, day one, a lot of people are saying, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to cut or I'm going to add funding. The thing is, get in there and figure out, learn the system first, right? From this side, from the inside, from that position that you are now in, that new position, see how everything is connected and networked, and then figure out, do we need more money or do we just need to repurpose what we're doing? We need to reassign people, right? It's interesting that you say that. Yesterday, I went to the mayor's I went to the Apollo where the mayor was giving his speech, but I didn't go inside. I was outside, and there were protesters out there. And one of the groups, the SBA, the Sergeants Benevolence Association. Right. So I spoke to some of them, and they were telling me that they supervise the officers, but yet they make less money.
Yes.
Right. So how does if I was an officer, how is my supervisor making less money than me? You see, the world right now, most people in the world look at money as the power, right? So if you don't make more money than me, you don't have more power than me, right? I don't have to answer to you because at the end of the day, you don't even make as much money as I do. So who are you? You're just in this so-called supervisory position for what? For what? So a lot of the tension that we're having within the police community themselves, that they're having before they deal with us, so-called civilians or non-police, they have issues inside that they need to address first.
Right.
So my thing is, find out what's going on. We may not have to get new funding, but just say, hey, look, this over here, we don't need to really do this anymore. Instead of this activity, let's move these officers over here, or let's shift this funding over here. Instead of doing this type of training that we don't really see any benefit from, why don't we use those funds and then make a new system and say, hey, look, this is our new OJT. This is our new on-the-job training system. We can use the same amount of money that we already have currently and make sure that we are fully maximizing that funding system that we have. Because a lot of the situations that are coming to light right now, we have extra funding or missing funds, unaccounted funds. So we know we have enough money. We have the dollars already. We need to make sure we're giving people their change.
Yeah.
Right? Where's the change? Don't talk about, hey, we need more tax dollars from you guys that we're mistreating already and we're scared of. The police officers are scared of the people that they're supposed to protect. Right?
Yeah.
So when are we going to make that shift, and how do we make that shift?
Yeah.
Those are things that will be addressed, that the answers are already here.
Okay.
But they require me getting there to be fulfilled.
Candidate Ross, police officers and the public are going to wonder who you are going to appoint, or have you had a chance to think of who you would appoint as police commissioner? And what do you think of the succession of police commissioners that we've had under Mayor Adams? Right now we have a new police commissioner with Commissioner Tisch, I believe her name is, and she was responsible for a lot of heads rolling, not just Jeffrey Madre, I believe, but also people in the Internal Affairs Bureau. I heard more than a dozen at one time were just swept under for doing things improperly or not even investigating certain things at all. Have you had a chance to think of who your police chief might be, or will that come at another day?
I think about all of that all the time. Like everything in my mind gets processed. It's kind of interesting to say it, but
yeah. And excuse me, I meant to say police commissioner.
Yes,
too. That's what I meant to say. Yeah.
When I see things, it's kind of I get this one big screenshot, and then my mind just processes a myriad of dynamics associated with that. And so when I say, okay, I know that the mayor has to appoint different people. And some come in and just make a whole new slate of teammates, right? I'm going to come in and say, hey, look, here's an opportunity to work with me, right? I want to understand who you are. If I understand you to be the person that we as the people need you to be, then you will remain. But if not, to be determined.
Yeah.
To be determined. Now, who would I consider? Would it be an NYPD person? Possibly. Would it be someone else? Possibly. There are a lot of people that I'm connected with, from the military to the government, that have credentials that make mine look like I just woke up today. Right? So the idea is to make sure that we build a team of individuals that can properly assess and deal with what is going on in that arena.
Yeah.
Right? So someone that can come in and say, all this is going on, how do we improve it? Is this person saying that, is this person doing what they said they're going to do in that position? So for now, I hope that she continues to do whatever she is doing, if it's the right thing, right? Just because heads are rolling, it doesn't mean that those are the right heads, right? So those heads might have been sacrificial, right? Protecting the actual heads. So I don't get swayed by the activities that I see happening in things that are going on, right? I wait until I get there and I'm in the situation and I can talk to the people. I can do my own investigation. Right? So that's my background has given me that insight, right? So I'm someone who was a part of the best intelligence network in the world, right? And that has given me an insight on many different platforms. So I'm not someone, you can't lie to me. You can't deceive me like that. It's just not happening. Right? So I need to get that feeling. I need to have that relationship with you. I need to shake your hand. I need to look you in the eye and I just say, hey, what kind of person are you? Are you here to handle business, or is the business handling you? And we'll move on from there.
Yeah, and I liked what you said earlier. You used the word systems and seeing how things are all interrelated and not just looking at one event, but how it's connected to everything else.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So a mayor of the city also gets to weigh in on the budgets of district attorneys. And have you thought about whether you would be increasing their budgets? We have Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. In Queens, we have Melissa Katz. I believe we have Tierney and maybe Nassau. I can't quite remember the other woman who's the district attorney in Suffolk, but I think there's 4 or 5. Have you thought about whether you would want to increase their budgets or tell them to make better do with what they have? We do have a financial crisis supposedly going on in the city.
Right.
I don't really understand how the finances work in Manhattan, but we're told that they're just printing money to keep the city going. Would you be looking to give them more resources, or have you had a chance to think about how you would weigh in with those budgets of district attorneys, the police department, and so forth?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, you said something very key there. You said to give them more resources. You didn't. First you said funding,
right?
But then you included resources.
Yeah.
So that's a key thing right there. Resources don't require funding. We already have a lot of resources at our fingertips that we're not taking advantage of, that we're not using fully,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So the first thing to do is to go in and say, hey, DAs in that system, the system of the DA, right? Is say, hey, prove the money that you have already to me. Prove that you have used that properly. You want more money? Show me that you've used what you had.
Yeah.
Properly, appropriately. The appropriate appropriations have been appropriately appropriated.
Yeah.
Right? Sure. So that's what we need to make sure is happening. So first and foremost is, hey, don't think that I'm coming in here and saying, hey, you're getting more money or you're losing money. I'm going to come in and say, hey, what's going on with the money? And how can we work this money in our system? So, hey, before we start asking the people for more money, I'm not going to be asking people for more money. You can take this right now. Understand this 100%. Javon Terell Ross will not be asking people, taxpayers, for more money. Period. It won't come from my mouth. Right? Because we already have all these different systems. Let's say the DA system, the NYPD, the sanitation, they all get money from one system. So have we all made sure that everybody's using that money appropriately? And if not, then how much money do you have for us to send over here? How much money do you have for us to send over here before we start asking people for money? Because I know one thing. If any of the mayor candidates would have gotten their 8-to-1 funding, where would that money have come from?
The people.
Right. So it's already there, right? Because we know some candidates haven't gotten it.
Yeah.
So that surplus of funding, why don't we give that to the people? Why don't we put that into the system where the people can start saying, hey, we see our funds being utilized appropriately?
Yeah.
So here we are talking about funding.
Right.
Why don't we talk about that funding first?
Right. And people are surprised to hear that when a candidate raises money, they go through a process where all their donors are checked. They even have to prove that the address is correct of the donor. But if that's approved, they can then apply to get matching funding.
Yes.
And I think in some cases they can get 8 times the amount. Somebody said 9, but most of the time I hear 8. And so if somebody raised $100,000 or $1 million, they'd get $800,000 or $8 million to decide how to spend.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I want to address something real quick.
Sure.
Most people may not know about. So the CFB is the Campaign Finance Board that gives us this matching fund opportunity. So you have a choice as candidates to sign up for it or not. For my campaign, I chose to become a small campaign. So if you go to the website that keeps track of the database of all the candidates, it'll show on there participating, undetermined, or something else. If it says undetermined, it's not that candidate is not sure if they're going to run for that office. That undetermined is associated with the financial portion of that, meaning that they are saying that they are not going to either ask for money or they're not looking to spend more than $1,000 on their campaign. So for me, my belief is if I ask you to consider me for office, I shouldn't be asking you for anything financial. I should be able, and I should have the capacity to come in with everything that I need to present myself. The only thing left then is for you to say, hey, do we believe in this person or not?
We'll be right back after a message from our sponsor. One more Capital Mouse House t-shirt coming right up. You can support independent and honest media by getting your own Capital Mouse House t-shirt. Email us at info@LiveONE TV or send a direct message on x.com. This t-shirt is a perfect expression of our feeling about government and the rodents that run Congress. Take a look at the rats that have taken over this place. They're $25 each, or 5 shirts for $100. All sizes available. Get your own Capital Mouse House t-shirt today. We are in a conversation with candidate for New York City Mayor 2025 coming up in 9 months. We are talking with candidate Javon Terell Ross. This is a really interesting area. We're talking about getting money out of politics, and you were just getting into that. Tell us a little bit more about your feelings on that.
Absolutely, thank you. So getting the money out of politics, taking the dollars out and putting the change in, right? Bringing the change, saying, hey, ching, 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 $1 out of 15 cents. We hear that a lot. How to make $1 out of 15 cents? Well, we, as the people, have given the 15 cents. We've given it. Where's the dollar? Where's that change, right? I mean, come on. We pay taxes, we do this, we do that. We give these people their money to run for us, but we haven't stopped to think about, wait a minute, why are we paying people that should already be in a position to present something to us, right? When you're a king or a king of a place, you don't go to the people and say, I need your money to be king or king. You're already that. And then people come into your territory and you let them know it's your kingdom.
Yeah.
Right? So for a politician or a person that says, I want to represent the people, you can't be scared of the people first and foremost. You know how many people come out here and they don't even want to interact with the people that they say they want to represent or protect.
Yeah.
But they're scared to even have a conversation. They're scared. They clench their belongings when they walk by or if you say, hey, I want to have a conversation, talk to me about this. They don't have time for you. So in that arena, come with your own ability and capacity to serve the people. I don't need the people's money. And I said it in my other interview. When I become the mayor, I don't want to get paid for it. I will not accept the money. It will be given to something else, some other system to help other people if they have to pay me. And that will be something that the people can see and take account to. Is that, hey, what's happening with his money? Is he keeping true to his word?
Right.
Like, really, man, you're not going to pay for this? No, I don't need money to do the job. Yeah. It requires someone who's committed to the people, that is here to love the people, respect them, reform whatever needs to be reformed, and then restore us with each other.
So much to talk about. We hopefully will be having candidate Ross. We're talking about Javon Terell Ross, have him back in the studio. I just have one more thing to ask you about the Constitution and whether it matters for a mayor. And in terms of our civil rights, we've learned about surveillance by the government going on, and even questions about the taxation system, whether it really is in line with the original ideas on fairness that you were talking about. Where does the Constitution fit in with your policies?
That's another, you give some great questions here, first and foremost.
Welcome to LiveONE.
Thank you. The Constitution, I don't know if this is a word. The Constitution needs to be reconstitutionalized before it is being implemented. Because right now, what we're having is a lot of issues over the Constitution. right? Well, that's not constitutional, or that's constitutional and it should happen this way because it is constitutional. Those are my constitutional rights. And then we're telling people those aren't your constitutional rights in our actions, right? If we're supposed to be allowed to do X, Y, and Z, why aren't we being able to do that? It's written down in our constitutional rights, but we're not being allowed those. So we already know that there's issues with the Constitution being upheld. So why don't we readdress the Constitution before we, not you, but just as the people, right? We need to readdress the capacity, the authority of the Constitution. Are we going to live by it, or do we need to reform it?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, why don't you take the remaining moment in the interview? We really appreciate you coming in today. Just, let me, that's just,
It's all right.
remember something else. Thank you so much for coming in today, Candidate Ross. Please take the remaining moments and let our viewers know anything you want about your candidacy.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Ian.
Yeah.
I'm here to be everybody's friend. I'm not here to ask people for their votes. I'm not here to ask you for money. I'm here to ask you, what questions do you have? What concerns do you have? What systems do you need to make better, right? Where's the change? Where does that change needs to happen? And then how can we work together to make that happen? That's the system that we're going to be putting in place when I become the mayor. You can look for me, forgive me, you can look for me on my website. It's www.tryagain, that's TRI, hyphen like the minus sign, again, AGAIN.org, O-R-G. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here, and God bless you all.
Thank you for watching LiveONE.tv and our interview with Candidate Ross. We'll see you again. Follow LiveONE.tv on X at LiveONE_TV.